And welcome to a very sad Fin Out of Water fan cast. And I can't play the song due to copyrights. And you feel me? I ain't got money to give these motherfuckers anyway, but I'm gonna try to sing it
Nope.
to the best of my abilities, Rob. It's hard to say goodbye to
To
yesterday.
yesterday. Oh man. Vintage
Rod.
December Dolphins, Herbie. Vintage
Vintage
December.
December's Dolphins, man. But before we get to that, man, let's go ahead and give our intros, man. This is the Fin Out of Water Football Fan Cast, Podcast, Football Show, whatever you want to call it. But what you need to understand is this is a football podcast by the fans, for the fans, and we are the fans, man. I am your host, B Herbo. And I got my brother from another mother, Rod, man, in the building for week 15 instant reactions. And I just want to skip past the Dolphins game and get rest of the NFL, bro. We ain't got to talk about the Dolphins, right? We want to talk about the Dolphins? We ain't got to talk about the Dolphins. We ain't got to talk
Unfortunately,
about the Dolphins.
her we got to, man. I trust me.
Unfortunately, we
These
do
are the
have to
worst
talk about the
episodes.
Dolphins, man. And
Yeah.
if you are somebody who's been watching us every single week, then you would know that we have our own personality, our own little things that make our particular brand of football discussion a little different. And one of those things is this. Rod, man, does something when the Miami Dolphins win, and he does something when they lose. And if you are very keen and you have an astute eye, you might know what that is. Rob, man, what piece of clothing are you missing today, sir?
Herbie, well, normally, when the Dolphins, well, I can't even say normally, but whenever the Dolphins take care of business, your boy likes to rock the Dolphins hat,
Mm.
the Dolphins
Mm, mm,
cap,
mm, mm, mm.
shining head, you know what I'm saying? Like right here for everybody to see, that's my squad when they win. But today is not the case, man. Today that's
Today
not
is
the
not the
case.
case, and all we have to see is a beautiful, blinding shine of gold right on the top of your head right there, dog. Unfortunately, dog. That light is beaming and it is very reflective, dog. So the fact that I see that crisp, shiny bald head means that unfortunately the Miami Dolphins lost, man. So let's get right into it, baby. The Dolphins failed to take off in Houston, aka Houston or Miami. We have a problem, man. So let's get right to the game, Rob. Talk to me, man. What happened, baby?
Okay, Herb. So first and foremost, before I get into the game, I want to get two things off my chest. Number one, I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in, anybody who's been liking the content, subscribing,
Absolutely.
comment,
Absolutely.
sharing our stuff. Like,
Absolutely.
dude, Herbie, you seen we've had mad growth in these recent weeks because we're trying to build a community here for ourselves and we can't do it without y'all. So much appreciated for everybody showing love. I just want to get that on the front end. The second thing I wanted to say was there you go, Herb. There you go, Herb.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Like, and not to cut you off, I just want to get my little 2 piece in.
Yeah.
This is a lot of work. It's just me and you. We don't have a team. We don't have anybody. And the love and the admiration and the comments and all of the stuff that we've shown and have had in these past 3 or 4 weeks in this past month is what keeps me and Rod going. So I absolutely want to piggyback off what you're saying. But go on with your second point, sir.
Second thing, I want to put out thoughts and prayers to Grant Dubow's family.
Absolutely.
He was the wide receiver who got hurt in the game, and I know when the quarterbacks get head injuries, it's like top of the line news. And he's like a bench player, but Herbie, it doesn't matter whether you're a guy who gets no minutes or a guy who's a superstar. It sucks to see anybody get that kind of injury, and I'm sure his family was mortified seeing him on the field. They had to cut his jersey off, like it was a big scene. So I don't know exactly how he's doing. I haven't kept up with it since they carted him off the field. I know he went to the Memorial Hospital over there, but just want to put thoughts and prayers out there to Grant Dubow and his family. I'm hoping that he's doing good, but I just wanted to get that out on the front end.
Well, I can't
Now,
clarify on that end. I looked
yeah,
it up right before we hopped on. He is at the hospital. He is in stable condition.
Ooh,
It doesn't seem to
beautiful,
be anything serious, but it's just one of those things. This is football. This stuff
right?
happens, and that's one of the brutal parts of the game is that We see that, but the game goes on. People cheer, people cry, people after it happened, like it never happened, because there's still a football game to be played, and that's the unfortunate aspect of this. But there's no way to not. This is just
It's
part of the game.
unavoidable. It's
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 unavoidable.
unavoidable. Yeah, it's unavoidable.
You could put any kind of rule, you could put any kind of uh things or any kind of structure in. This is gonna happen. We see it probably once or twice a week at this point. A
Right.
week, a week. But yeah, I didn't want to go ahead and derail. I just wanted to go ahead and to provide that information that he is in stable condition.
All right, Herbie. So now that I got the pleasantries out the way, um,
Yeah, yeah,
so I'm gonna do something a little different here. I'm gonna say some brief words about the Texans first because it takes two teams to play the game, and then I'll get
absolutely.
into the meat and potato. So I'm gonna start with the Texans offense, and then we'll scale to the defense, which will lead us into Miami's offense. So to start, my thoughts on Houston's offense going in, after watching this game. If I were to describe their offense in one word, Herbie, I would have to say that they left me feeling empty. And the reason why I say that is because when you really watch the game in totality, they only really had one real drive the whole game. Their other touchdown drive that they scored, it came off of one of Tua's many turnovers. Um, and then when you look at it, their other two scoring drives were field goals that were stalled. So the Texans on offense, their offensive line obviously had a rough day. They've been having a rough season, and that has bled into CJ Stroud and his play. He was one of my guys coming into the year. He has not looked like he did his rookie year. You could say he's in a sophomore slump. So, their offense hasn't really been too impressive in this game and in recent weeks. So I was left feeling empty watching them. And listen, CJ Stroud got one of the easiest paychecks he's had today, bro. That man had 130 yards. He didn't have to break too much of a sweat. Like he took some sacks because the Miami's defense held Houston's offense in check for a decent amount of the game. But for the most part, their offense didn't impress me. You know what I mean? Like going into the playoffs, I wonder how they're going to do against steeper competition. Now, on the flip side, Herbie, Houston's defense coming in, they're a defense that was to be reckoned with, right? They came into this week being second in sacks, second in takeaways. They have one of the best pass defenses in football. We saw what they did to two teams that played today in the Bills and the Lions. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Uh, MVP frontrunner Josh Allen looked like a pedestrian quarterback. I knew going into today that this was going to be a tough assignment, and it showed today. Their front seven was all over our offensive line. D'Amico Autry had a play where he made Liam Eichenberg look like he didn't even belong on the field. And Liam Eichenberg, I'll get to him when we get to Miami's offense. Kalen Bullock, the safety, made several plays. Derek Stingley Jr., Derek Stingley Jr. That man had Tyreek Hill on Shutter Island, bro. Straight jacket. He just had Tyreek Hill in the straight jacket all game. He might have had as many catches as Tyreek Hill from Tura. Like it was just their defense had sticky coverage all day. Early in the game, Herbie, I can't count how many times Tua dropped back and he was just scanning the field and had to check it down. They had great coverage on our receivers all day long. They made us earn every freaking yard, every inch. And I just wanted to give my props to them before I go on to the Miami offense because they had an impressive day and they've been a pretty good unit all season long. And it showed today. It showed today. Um, with that being said, Herbie, speaking of their defense, I got to go to Miami's offense, Herbie. And I guess, none of us got the memo. You know what I'm saying? There was a memo that was issued before the game. So, Herbie, I'm going to explain that memo to you. Apparently, Tua was going to come dressed as Santa Claus. He was going to wear the red suit, he was going to wear the white beard, and he was handing gifts to the Texans defense, Herbie. That's like we didn't get that memo, but we got to see it play out during the game, okay? Because Tua definitely had his best fucking bad Santa impression today. And listen, since he's been back, Herbie, he's been playing great. This unfortunately, a game like this is going to get rid of all the goodwill he built up, and I'm going to explain why in a second. But at the end of the day, Herbie, Tua has played well since he's come, and I've given the defense a lot of grief. The defense today, Herbie, they didn't play a great game, but they did enough to win, Herbie. You hold the Texans to 20 points. You at the end of the day, you get a turnover that set us up for scoring position, but Tua gave it right back. You have 4 sacks, 2 from Chop. You had 1 from Anthony Walker, 1 from I believe Sealer. You know what I'm saying? So the defense made plays. The defense kept us in the game up until Tua's final interception. Herbie, I'm the type of guy. Listen, I have the players that I like. Everybody has their biases, but when it comes to this game of football, Herbie, you know how we do. We're gonna call it how we see it. And Herbie, Tua had about as bad a game as I've seen him have. And I'm not a person who's gonna overreact to a player having a bad game here and there. But here's the problem, Herbie. See, I'm a fair person, and I like to look at an entire body of work. Right? That's how you judge someone, right? So you don't just look at the bad and the good. However, there's a certain thing called history, and there's a precedent that Tua has set for himself since he's been in the league since his rookie year. This game that we saw against Houston Texans, we've seen this game before, Herbie. We saw it against Buffalo his rookie year, a win and get into the playoffs. We saw it against Tennessee his second year, a win and you vault yourself into playoff positioning. We saw it against the 49ers and Chargers. We saw it against the Bills to win the division last year. Herbie, at the end of the day, Tua is a talented player and quarterback in his own right. He's not a big arm guy, but he has skills that can present themselves in the league. However, at the end of the day, these are the games. You listen, having a bad game, everybody has a bad game. Every quarterback in the league this season, you pick out, they had at least 1 or 2 bad games. It's not alone him. However, it's the timing. It's the moment. It was what was at stake. The Dolphins had the playoffs on the line. Now, Herbie, I'll be honest with you. After we lost to the Packers, I was already like, I didn't have any real I wasn't truly hopeful we were going to run the table. This team in that game showed me that they weren't going to do that. But at the end of the day, this game against this team, Houston, a division leader, a team you needed to beat in order to go on a run, a speculative run, this was a team you needed to beat. This was a team that you needed to win against. This was a litmus test. And the Dolphins failed. Tua failed. And it's crazy because I don't even blame Tua for the first turnover, the sack fumble. He should hold on to the ball. He's had a fumbling problem in the league. But the offensive line gave him no chance on that play. D'Amico Autry completely trucked fucking Liam Eichenberg. The offensive line completely collapsed. So on that play, I wasn't even that mad about that play. But Herbie, the interceptions, the picks, first of all, he should have had 4 picks because there was one that was dropped earlier, and then they ran the same coverage. And they had Kalen Bullock as a robber again, and Tua threw it right to him. He had already gotten fooled by the coverage before, and then he threw it right to him, Herbie.
All right. This is that time of the episode where you're revving hot. I gotta uncrank the engine. That engine is leaking oil. That thing going this. It was a wild boar right there, man. It's a wild steer right there, man.